How's it going, ScrubGamers? Welcome back to another video and another in a deck profile from me here at ScrubGames. So in the last one I went over a different kind of unique take on the King Cold deck, utilizing the Broly chain to make probably good use of the Broly Secret Rare to be in a very aggressive King Cold deck, now that which is, in my opinion, is a very good option to go for now that its worst matchup in black, being Dark Broly, was neutered. But since the new ban list, I've got a few ideas about different decks to play for set 15, and in the next coming weeks I'm going to be going over all my list of decks that I think are interesting that I would be trying to play, and well, basically just sharing with you guys. So the first one, well, the second one technically, because the King Cold one was the first. Second one is Hatchhyack. So Hatchhyack's an interesting one. It's a pretty good anti-meta deck in a sense because of its built-in floodgate ability, which limits the number of attacks your opponent can make with battle cards under a certain level. And over time, we've got more and more good generic black cards, and it has an all-round good interaction with it. Deck. Like hand destruction doesn't give it the hand destruction doesn't do the worst, like too bad to it. That hurts, but it doesn't do the worst to it. It can't really deck out just inability with the ghost warriors to refill your deck from your drop and stuff like that. And it has some good defense and also some good pressure as well. So if you just want to look at the list, you can either look at it now while it's on the screen, or down below in the comments, the description box will be a link to the deck list on Deck Planet. But if you do want to listen to the deck list to go over the the cards themselves, the choices behind, like the reasons behind the choices, and also some turn by turn play of how to play the deck, feel free to listen on. If not, if you just want the list, just go down to the description and head on over to the Deck Planet, which shout out to them as well for being the best deck building website at the moment in DBS. It's far out surpassing what we've previously had, and with a dedicated team and creator who's always trying to improve it for the players. So if you're new and you haven't heard of Hatchhyack or never seen Hatchhyack, he's from a obscure. Well, he's from one of the Dragon Ball Z movies. I didn't even realize who he was until the card came out, and I went and looked him up, watched the movie. It's not too bad a movie. It's one of the deep, being a Dragon Ball Z movie, it's not amazing because it's quite obscure and it not too long, but he is interesting. So he's got a permanent that's on both sides, where you can only play black cards, and on the front side the card itself can't attack. A leader can't attack, and just like also another skill it has on both sides is also of when a battle card attacks, the player who attacked can't attack with tokens or battle cards with energy cost 7 or less than the card they attack with for the duration of the turn. Which means if I attack with, say, something like let's see, there's the Demogorgon here. It's 5 cost. So if I attack with that first, this kicks in and makes it so I cannot attack with any other battle card unless it's over 7 costs or more for the rest of the turn. So it means that's it. I'm locked into that just one attack unless I can drop something higher than that. And another effect to help you get some advantage on this side, it's got Activate Main, where once per turn you place the top card of your deck under this card, then you mill yourself at the top card of your deck, then you draw 1. So your deck filling by 3 cards, and fulfilling this condition allows you to help your Awakening, because Awakening is a lot different than what most leaders have. Because what you need to do is, if you only have black cards in energies, you need to. That's why we only run mono black deck. Only black cards, because you can run champ if you want, but I choose not to. Choose 3 cards under this card and place them in the drop areas. So by turn 3 it's going to awaken. Your turn 3 it's going to awaken. You can draw 1 card, flip the card over. Now it only draws 1, but still not drawing at 1. It's not too bad. You gain an advantage still from the front, and you can't really be aggroed down because of its floodgate ability. But you do flip it over. As I said, it's got the first auto and the permanent, same as the backside. But now it has an auto of when this card the only difference in the permanent being it's just you can only play black cards, so you can attack now with the lead. And the other auto is when this card attacks, it gets 5,000 power and draws a card, so it becomes a 20k swing, and you draw a card. So a really good card, really good leader, and nice flood game, and it's sometimes is a really good choice for the current meta, which in my opinion, for this current meta is a very good choice. Because we saw at the beginning of it, we had a surge of mill decks like Caller being utilized in the first few tournaments, and now we get hand destruction where this deck now it's getting drawn quite a bit. So the first card we got is the Unison of choice for the deck, is the one for the brand new for the set, SS4 Bardock Spirit Renaissance. So you never have to worry about the auto because you're not going to have any Spirit Boost in here to trigger it. But it's got 2 very good marker skills, and it's a 2 specified black, which means it's not an issue with this deck, but it means you can only play it turn 2, which is not a problem. So the first auto is something we've seen on every Unison before, which is +1, activate main, draw a card. Very good, gives you extra pressure, so with your leader in this, you can draw 2 cards a turn without using any energy or anything. And the other effect, to help stave off a few turns of aggression if your opponent drops a load of battle cards that are set higher, like 8 costs or higher to surpass its auto. You've got this ever skill, which is -2, activate main. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, they can't attack with battle cards unless they use 1 card in the hand set to their warp. So your opponent's got quite a low hand. They have to consider if what they can attack with, and if they want to attack as well. It's very good, and it's very easy to keep this alive due to leader's inability, because your opponent's going to have 1 attack with a battle card unless they can drop more that are 8 costs higher, which is easy enough to do, but not too easy to do. And so they only get 1 attack with the leader, 1 attack with the battle card, and then 1 attack with the Unison. But in the early turns, they're not going to have all that many attacks after that. And you can easily have things like blockers to defend it as well. So that's a Unison, and we play a full 4 copies of it because it's such a good Unison. Because sometimes you will -2 to kill itself and then play a new one, so you can get the draw as well. Then the next kind of tech engine we have is, I've seen a lot of people choose what used to be run in Hatchhyack, being the Son Goku The Adventure Begins, which is the 1-drop Kid Goku from set 6, which once per turn can get a ball, and then paying 2 can play a skills battle card from the drop or deck to the board, and 4-star balls also, they can keep getting a free 50k combo piece, combo power every turn. But what I've gone for instead is and normally that is cover 6 cards, being 4 of the Kid Goku and at least 2 or 3 of the 4-star ball. What I've gone for instead is a little blocker, little cantrip core, being 2 Toki Toki, 3 Supreme Card time regulator, and 1 Shin Noble Supremacy. So what Toki Toki does is it's a searcher with deflect to get out the blocker, because when it's played, basically here it is. So it's got deflect, so it can't be counterplayed, and then when you play it, you top deck it, and then you choose 1 black battle card with 3 plus of power from your deck and play it. And the target for that are these 2. This one will be the main one, being because it's a cantrip, which means that basically what cantrip means is it's basically just a card that replaces itself when you play it. So this is when you play it, draw 1, and it's a blocker, meaning you can turn 1, play this, play the Toki Toki to get this straight from the deck, and then have it ready for when you turn 2, drop the Unison. You can have a blocker to defend the Unison. And having 2 Toki Tokis and 3 Kais mean you're essentially playing 5 copies of the Kai, because these 2 can shoot yourself into these. And we only run 3 and 2 because we want to try and utilize how many times you see it in this, at least Toki Toki's combo power if it's in hand and you can't play it, whereas Spring Kai has no combo power. And then we run a copy of Shin, and the reason we run Shin, some people run different ones because there's different kind of options you can have. Some people run the Kami, which is the one that can wipe a board if there's 4 costs or lower and they've got 4 more battle cards on board. There's also the Dende, which can rip apart energy if your opponent tries to ramp. And I think there is another one, but I can't remember exactly what it is, but I think there's another copy. But the reason I go for this one is because this helps stave off high cost battle card aggression. Because just like the other ones I've just mentioned, Kami and Dende, it also has an auto where when you play this card you draw 1, but it also has a more useful ability, especially for the mirror match as well, just if you go second, being the second order, where if you have 3 or less energy, when you play this card, you activate the skill. Your opponent can't attack with battle cards of energy cost of 7 or more until the end of your next turn, which means it helps you by if you're being white low and your opponent can drop loads of 8 cost or more battle cards, which can get around your opponent's auto or your leader's auto to floodgate, then at least this stops them for that turn then. And sometimes in the mirror, if you go against a similar deck and you're going second, you'll go to turn 3 if your opponent's already gone to charge 3. You can play this, and now on their turn 4 they can play this SS4 Gogeta, but they can't attack with it because of Shin. So it means if they want to drop that, they can't attack with it to trigger a specific effect, which is, I find it a lot more handy than having Dende or Kami in the main, which might not do anything, but this at least could do anything in the first game of best 3. But that is my little engine I have for my little core. And then we go on to the next package, or the next little core we have, which is the SS4 Gogeta core, which we play 4 of Goku Zeno, 4 of Vegeta Zeno, and 3 of the SS4 Gogeta itself. It's like a big finisher play, and they help control, because this is a control deck. So you run 2 to negate, which is the Son Goku make an entrance. It's basically a one cost battle card that can, as a counter attack, you need to attack play itself. And that's relevant because of the ISR from set, after proper effect, from set 7. So there's a 5 cost Son Goku, and it's good because it's a 0 cost 5k, which is really nice. 25k, double strike, and it can Xeno evolve for 1 on top of a Son Goku Xeno with energy cost 3 or less. But you can't play this if you have 3 or less energy, and you need to have only black cards in all the visible areas, which means in your deck, on your field, leader, energy, drop, and warp. And so you can only play this turn 4 onwards because of the fact, but you can put on 1 cost on one of the negates because it plays itself. So turn 3, you normally can negate the attack of something which you want, because you have Unison on board to be to use to protect Unison. And in the next turn you can pay 1 to play this, and then you can recycle battle cards, because it's an activate main, which is really handy. It's once per turn. Choose the 4 black battle cards in your warp and place them in your drop area. So as you'll see, there's a lot of overwhelm in this deck, which is basically there for good utility, and everything's that you not normally warp to gain skills, and this allows you to use those, do that, and then put them back from your warp to your drop to be able to use again to overwhelm more and not deck out too much. You have a bit more control. And then for the 4 Zeno Vegeta, we've gone for the super combo because it's the best black super combo, and it adds that, and the icing on the top is that it adds to that engine. And the reason we go for the SS4 package, SS4 Gogeta package, is because of the 8-drop itself, which is SS4 Gogeta thwarting the Dark Empire. This is a very strong battle card, and you'll probably see a lot of it teched in lots of different decks because it's such an easy core to put into any deck. It's not really original, but it's really good, and it's there, and it fits really well with a Hatchhyack deck. You can easily make it the turn 4 to drop this. So it's a triple attacker and a blocker at 35k base. And a nice thing is, normally when you get things this strong, they have a cost of the combo, which is once it's 0 cost 5k, but you're never going to be comboing it, so you want to keep all of them ready to play them. It's got a very powerful auto of once per turn when this card attacks. Your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand and 2 of the battle cards on the field in Northern Barrier, send it to a warp. And at the end of the turn, you switch this card to active mode. So on the first swing, you're going to warp 2 cards from the hand and 2 battle cards on the board if they have any, and then be able to attack 2 more times after that, but without that effect. Then at the end of the turn, you can restand it to have a blocker, which is really good because it helps block more attacks. Because your opponent's got any limit on attacks to help defend your Unison. But you're not going to be playing 8 for that. You're going to be using his active main for 4 energy. You choose 1 Son Goku Zeno card and 1 Vegeta Zeno card in your battle area and or drop, and send it to the warps, play this card from your hand. And this is easy enough to get in the warp because you can either combo with the cards, play them on board, which is easy enough with the Goku, and or mill them with the leader, or discard them with something else. So it's easy enough to get in the warp or drop, or in the on board. And the help as an extra finisher for the deck, we are playing 2 Dark Mask King Devilish Dominator. So this is a way, because there's not a lot of double strike or ways to, like most of the cards you can see, you normally need only like single attackers. There's not much to do, multiple damage in one swing. So that's what we run for. 2 of the Dark Mask King Devilish Dominator, because it's a deflect triple strike. Deflect being a keyword skill here, meaning it's unaffected by counterplay skills, and has triple strike, which means it does, if it connects and does damage, it does 3 damage. So it's got 2 autos in activate main. The first auto is once per turn. When this card attacks, you send up to 2 cards from your opponent's drop area to the warp, and if your opponent has 10 or more cards in their warp, switch card active mode. And that's going to be normally quite easy to fulfill that using some of the battle card skills in there, especially the Gogeta and Demogorgon stuff. And if they do it naturally by overwhelming. And there's also a nice card as well to control your opponent's drops. If they're playing like a drop area heavy strategy, this is a great card to control that. And then you also got the other auto once per turn. If your opponent activates a counter skill during a battle with this card, you send 1 card from your opponent's life to the warp, which means if you swing with this card and negate using a counter, you warp a card from their life, which is very, very strong. And you're not, once again, just like Gogeta, you're not paying full cost for the card. Not many things in this game now do cost what they say on the card. You can activate main, which for 4 energy if your leader card is black and your opponent has 3 or more cards in your warp, which you can easily do. You play a card from your hand. And then on to some of the other utilities, we're playing 3 Lord Slug. This is a way to help yourself not deck out and to keep your deck healthy. It's a activate main where if your leader card is a Black Machine Mutant card and you choose 3 black battle cards with entry cost between 3 and 7 in your drop area and place in the bottom of your deck in any order, place a card from your hand. And we play this one because it's ever activate main is more useful than the rest of the Ghost Warriors, because you place in your drop area for activate main. Then you choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost greater than or equal to their opponent's energy and sends it in his warp. So your opponent tries to cheat out things hard in energy, hasn't got barrier, this is going to get rid of it for free. And we're also putting something you might want back in your deck to draw back in there. And they give a bit of extra defense, because sometimes you have this blocker out, but you want to remove it before attacking so you don't block an attack. So we play 3 of this SS3 Tag Team Sun Gohan because it's a blocker, so a permanent, which is basically unique. Unique being you can only have in your battle area 1 of this card at any given time. And the reason why we run this is because it fulfills the condition for Lord Slug to put stuff back, and is also where when a black card is removed from your battle area by a skill, you activate your skill, play it from your hand. So if you've got this in your hand and you've got the Supreme Card on the board, and your opponent gets rid of it so they can swing at your Unison or leader without you stopping it from connecting to those cards, they use a skill to get rid of this. You can activate this, play it from your hand, and you have a blocker back up there. Next card we have is Majin Buu Wickets Incarnate. This gives you a bit of extra draw power and a way to discard things like Goku and Vegeta from your hand if you need to, and keep the advantage up. Because it's got an activate main for 1. If your leader card is black, if your leader card is black, or your energy is blank, and you send this card from your drop area to warp, you can activate the skill, activate main skill, and copy this card for the turn. And at the end of your turn, you can choose 1 black card in your hand, discard it, and if you do, draw 2 cards. So you can just pay 1, warp this. So you can do this. That's the nice thing about this. You can do it before overwhelm, so you can trigger this, then overwhelm, and it's a trigger at the end of the turn. So you discard a black card and then draw 2. So it's an easy way to ditch cards you want. Like if you want to put stuff in your deck, say for sparking, or for an overwhelm next turn, or for Gogeta, this is a good way to do it. Then we have 1 Fu mission accomplished. Similar to Buu, it's a drop area effect, but it doesn't warp itself and remove from the game. But it's handy to get back some key pieces you might want. It doesn't get back the big boss monsters, but it does get some good utility back. Because if you activate main for 2 energy, you remove this card from your drop area from the game. You choose up to 1 black battle card with entry costs from your drop area or warp with entry costs 7 or less, and add to your hand. So it gives a lot of targets you can get back. Kai Negate, Ocean Negate, Demergra, Black Master if you want energy. The Trunks you can then overwhelm and grab back what you actually want. Or even things like Jiren or Slug. It's a really good utility to grab something from your drop. Say if you lose all copies of Slug, you can get 1 back, so you can keep grab 1 back, so you can put the other 2 back with a skill to keep them in the loop again. Then for extra negates we have, because you want to be defensive to get to turn 4 to get your Gogeta on the board to kind of like put a lot of pressure on. We have 2 Spring card time 9 for elites. So this is a counter attack, and you get the attack player's cards, just like Goku. But it has a permanent where if you or your opponent have 3 or more cards in the warp, it's reduced by 2, becoming a 1-drop. And this is well, not always, but a lot of the time it's going to be a 2-for-1 negate. And what I mean by that is because of his auto, where if your leader card is black, when this card is played using its counter attack skill, you use up to one of your opponent's battle cards sent in its warp. And then at the end of the turn, you play that card sent to warp by the skill to the zone of his battle area with the skills negated. What I mean by that is, say your opponent drops something like, say you're playing a mirror, and your opponent has on the board the Demagra and SS Gogeta. Now what they're going to do, they're going to want to attack with the Demagra first, so the leader triggers the skill, so you can attack with anything that's 7 or less for the turn other than this card. So then they can attack after that, so they can get attacks with Gogeta and Demagra. So if they attack with Gogeta first, that trigger, and you won't be attack with Demagra then. So attack with Demagra, you'll negate which trigger is auto anyway, and then you'll negate with this, and then play it. So you stop this attack, and then use his auto to warp the Gogeta so it can't attack, so it's not there to attack, and then comes back on the board. So you essentially void 2 battle cards from attacking from 1 card for 1 energy. And then one of the best negates we've got in the game right now is like an actual turn stopper is Oceana Shenron Negative Energy Explosion. So this is a blocker counter attack, and so if you choose 1 card in your hand, discard it, you negate the attack, play this card, and if you played this card, your opponent can't attack for the turn unless they place the top 4 cards of the deck in each time. Now 4 cards might not seem like much, but if you think about it, you start off with a 50 card deck, you draw into a hand of 6, put your deck down to 44, and then you put 8 life in your life area, which puts you down to 36. So that means you've got an only limit deck, and if your deck draws a lot, let's say you draw like at least 2-3 cards a turn, your deck's getting really, really thin over a few turns, and milling top 4 cards for every attack starts to make a big difference when you get to later turns, which is when this is more useful. But you're not going to be paying 5 energy for it though. Like a lot of things, as I said, nothing is you don't actually pay what's printed on the card, and that's because of its permanent, where during your opponent's turn you reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 3. And we're going to ignore the other auto because your leader's not a Shadow Dragon, so it's not relevant. It's just mainly for the counter attack and the permanent. And also being a blocker means it can negate attack, then block an attack to, once again, just like Kai, prevent 2 attacks from connecting to your leader or unison. And then on to the other round packages we have. First one we have is Demagra. This is just a useful one, mainly because of its Dark Overwhelm 5. So for 2 energy and having 5 black cards in your drop, which is very easy with the deck, you can play this, and using Dark Overwhelm means it doesn't get warped at the end of the turn. And also the main reason we're running it free is because of its very strong 2 autos, which the first one is when it's played. When this card is played using Overwhelm, Dark Overwhelm, you draw 1 card and choose one of your opponent's battle cards since the zone's warp. So you're placing it in your hand with a new card, or putting a 30k beat stick on the board, and then warping something that doesn't have bar on the board from the sent to the warp. And every turn it's on the board, you get this advantage from its second auto, where when it attacks, your opponent chooses 1 card of hand set to the warp. So if this survives for 2 turns, and your opponent's got a battle card that doesn't have a barrier on the board that can be warped, when you play this, you can easily set up in just 2 turns the cost reduction on the Kai negate and the effect, and then basically just start filling up for the effect to play the Dark Mass King for cheaper on when you go to drop it, because it just play warp 1, swing warp 1, next turn if it's still there, swing again warp 1, that's free. Very strong card, and we've run Brick for it because it's probably the best overall in the game. And then for the utility, we have 2 Mass Same Brainwash more. Can be useful as either overwhelming because you warp your drop, and then the auto puts 3 back from your warp to your drop. So you say if you warp your drop, but you got things like, but you want to drop the Gogeta next turn, you got 1 of each, 1 Gogeta and 1 Vegeta, and so you've got Boo in the drop. or you've got a boo that you warp from use effect, you can go over realm, pop your drop, put the Gogeta, one of the Gogeta and one of the Goku back in, and the boo, ready to have the boo next turn, or use it if you haven't already used it. Things like that. And then its other effect, which is an activate battle for 1 black. If your leader card is black and you discard this from your hand, place 1 card from your life in your drop area, and your leader doesn't take damage for the battle. So this is really helpful against things like any victory strike skill apart from Matrix, because that shuts off this kind of effect, or battle cards that have things like double strike or triple strike and try to do a lot of damage in one swing. This can help avoid you taking two or more damage using that. Then we have Trunks Overseeing Time. Now this is a quite costly unison in overrun, and it's an old one, but as a utility to get back anything you want from drops. Say if you from trying to awaken your lead, where you're putting the top card underneath it, then bidding a card, that's 2 cards you don't get access to. And if it's something like your Secret Rare, your Fu Shrouded, or your 8-drop Gogeta, you're not going to be getting that back with things like the Fu and stuff. So this is a nice, useful, recyclable card as well, because it's a 4-cost black card, so you can easily get it back from your warp drop or anything like that. And it allows you to have access to get those big threats that the rest of the other cards we mentioned can't get grabbed back. And that's because of its auto. But its overarm skill requires 2 energy though, and at least 4 in drop. 4 is easy enough, and 2 energy is not too much. But its auto is when you play this card using overarm, you choose 1 battle card in your warp and that's your hand. So say if you mill your like Kai Secret Rare, you can easily just overrun this, grab it back, now it's in your hand ready. And then this you can just combo off with a swing with your leader, say, to go to combo off, and then you can put it back in your deck, ready to draw again with Lord Slug, or grab it back with Fu, mission accomplished. And then we have SS3 Vegeta Unstoppable Evolution. Now this is a choice option to get rid of things through barrier, because there's also when this card is played using Overrealm, you draw a card, then choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, ignore barrier and set it as a warp. So your opponent's got something in with the Yellow Lord Slug SR from Draft Box 6 that stops you from drawing outside your leader. Now you got your units on board and you want to draw, but you can't use this +1 because, well, you can use it +1 but you won't get the draw because of Lord Slug. You overrun to this, warp the draw 1, well you don't draw 1 but you warp the slug, and now your unison can draw again, you got rid of that problem. So so this is a nice utility that's easily recyclable as well, being a 6-drop. If your opponent has anything with barrier that you want to get rid of, like even the Aegis Bojack arrival, get rid of that before attacking so they can't trigger Aegis, because it gets rid of barrier. It's a really good utility card. Then we have our pseudo secret rare, or as you refer to, that's what I refer to it as, because it's on the power level of secret rare, but you can run as many copies as you want, but only run 1. Is Food Shrouded Mystery, a card that's been around since set 3, and it's a really good way to game end. So if you've already got the Gogeta or the Devilish Dominator on your board, and you've got 6 energy and enough in drop for this, you can drop this. And there's also a trigger, which is when you play this card using Overrealm, your opponent can activate skills on cards other than the leader card until the beginning of the next turn. So it means your opponent shut off of all their effects, so they can't use any extra cards, can't use negates, can't use any skills whatsoever, even blocker or anything like that. This shuts all that down apart from the leader. And with that, like normally this is what you're going to be using as your game ender after you've dropped your big thing like SS4 Gogeta. And then on to the next one, being our actual secret rare, being Spring Card Time, Space Time Rare. Now we use this one because it's an 8 cost, so it gets around our leader's effect via attack as well as with whatever 7 cost or less we attack with first. And it also has a useful effect where it can come in for 1 energy using this first activate battle, where if you have 1 energy, if you have 3 or more energy, you can play this card from your hand, and if you do, your opponent can't attack with leader cards or unison cards. So this is a nice way with this foolishly swing with a battle card first. You can drop this on that swing as long as it's not connected to a unison to stop the unison and leader from attacking for the turn. So you can shut off a whole turn potentially with this. Because if it's a 5 cost or less, well, it's a 7 cost or less, back on the swing, you can't swing with anything else unless they can drop a big battle card. And then this is stopping from swinging the leader or unison if they haven't done so already. Then it has a very useful effect as well, which if you don't want to attack, you can attack with it first, if you want, or even use this before, where for activate main for 1 energy, you can choose this card and all your opponent's battle cards and unison cards and send it as a warp. so you can get rid of your opponent's Unison, even if they've got like tons of markers on it, and all the board not ignoring barrier with just 1 energy using this card. Very strong one, and that's the reason why it's so expensive. And then the last battle card we got in there is Cheering Survival the Fierce. This is just there for against blue, because blue is probably a tough matchup for Hatchhyack and black decks in general. This is a main deck choice. There would be a never one in the side deck for dealing with things like Turning the Tide, which when played has the flex, it can be counterplayed, and then puts all your drop and your hand back in your deck to basically put you on massive disadvantage. But this helps interactive because there's always counterplay where you play this card, you draw a card, and then cards in your hand can't return to your deck by your opponent's skills, which completely counters the Turning the Tide, which is why we main deck one. Because otherwise, there's no way to counter that card, and blue is quite popular at the moment. And then the last card, and only extra card we play, is Power Burst. It's basically a 3 cost negate because it's Sparking 5 permanent, where if you have 5 or more cards in your drop area, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand by adding a card from your life to your hand instead of paying its energy cost. And when you do play it, if your leader card is black, and you get the attack, then choose up to 1 black battle card from your drop area or warp, with energy cost of 1 add to your hand. So you can either grab back one of these if you want to, so you have a Toki to then shoot out one of these two, the Kai to have a blocker, Shin just have a cantrip, or you can grab back the Son Goku so you can have a second negate to negate and never attack afterward if you've got the energy. And that is it for the deck. That is this is my list I'm going to go forward with for set 14, and I'm happy with it. I'm just waiting for the Decklist Dominate, the Dark Mask King to come through the post to be able to, before I start using it in tournaments, because I hope it go back to locals starting probably next week after, because this weekend we got the card market event and I've got some personal stuff planned for outside Dragon Ball. But hopefully starting from next weekend I can start playing and maybe bring some gameplay footage of this as well. But thank you for watching if you have watched it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, give it a like, and if there's anything I haven't gone over or you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below to ask questions. I'll answer it best I can. And lastly, if you want to keep updated with videos like this from me, feel free to subscribe. It helps me out, helps me get to that 1,000 scrub, which is my aim at the moment, and also keeps you updated if and when I drop videos, which should be now more regular, given that I've finally got my new PC sorted. Once again, thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.